Josh Green here, the Tungsten Tales. Delighted today to be speaking for the first time to Gemma Hayter. Gemma, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, we spoke a bit earlier. I've got a cold at the minute, but on the whole, I'm not too bad.
Good, good.
Are you?
Really busy time as well of the year for yourself. Season obviously just getting up and running with the women's series last weekend. Enjoying everything that's coming with being on the circuit at the moment.
Yeah, so far so good. It's easy to say that when you're performing well. I'm coming back from a shoulder injury as well that I kind of picked up around Christmas time, so there was a bit worrying times, but hopefully that's sorted itself out now.
You've obviously been playing on that women's series now for the last couple of years, and the results have gone sort of from strength to strength. You've had some really impressive performances and wins over the last sort of 18 months or so. We know you were a name that initially, when the women's series kicked off, maybe people weren't so familiar with. Talk to me about why you decided to sort of come back into the fray and test yourself on this circuit.
Um, so it was about, I think, well, it's funny actually. The same year I played for England, the same year I gave up, so that was about 9 years ago now. And there was obviously the Littler hype, but not the world champions just gone, but the one before. And also, I used to play youth darts with Luke Humphreys. So I think it was both the Lukes. I normally say the Luke Littler effect, but when you see somebody that you played like youth darts with win a worlds,
Mm.
that's obviously going to inspire something in you. So
Yeah. Why at the time did you not pursue it when you were younger? Was it just not a priority or?
um, I think I fell out of love with it. I did it since I was about 12 or 13. So all my friends were like 18 years old saying, "Oh, we're going out," and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to darts," and they were just like, "What?" So I think I just kind of fell out of love with it. I didn't do the BDO tour back then,
Mm.
so like the highest I was ever going to take it was playing for England.
Yeah. Did you feel like you'd kind of achieved at that point what you wanted to achieve? And now I guess there's maybe more on the table now for women in darts, whether it be the Moda Super Series, or it be things like in the PDC as well. You've got maybe a little bit of additional motivation with everything that you can do.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely more there for women now, which is another main attraction. I remember seeing the women's series obviously tour, and then I saw the WADC tour as well, and they're the two prominent ones that I play on now.
Hmm. Where was the level when you first came back in terms of how you were playing, and how much has that changed in the time since you came back to now?
So I started playing again January 2024, just throwing in the house, and then I noticed that I was playing quite well, and then I said to my girlfriend, "Oh, these are going better than I expected." And then in the March is when I played in the women's series, and
Hmm.
then my very first one I got to the semi final.
I was gonna say it's been a really sort of quick progression from there. Were you expecting to be able to compete so early after coming back?
No, I think I set myself a target of winning across the whole weekend. Like my target was £400 that I wanted to pick up, and then the first event I'd got a semi final and won 500. So yeah, it was definitely above expectation.
Hmm. Did you notice when you came back how much the women's game has changed, or did it seem fairly similar to what you were used to, what you say, 9 years or so before?
It changed a lot. Like even the equipment. I mean, I went with the same old darts that I used, the same flights, the same stems, the same flight protectors, the same rings. And I remember my friend had these flights that they just pop on the stems,
Mhm.
and I was like, "What the hell are they?" So yeah, it's like a huge like equipment change. Like every board had an iPad. When I used to go in like video events, it was paper that you just tore off. Sorry, I forgot so
No,
much.
you're right. So you talk about the progression over the last year or so, the level you're playing at now. I assume that isn't what you see as the ceiling for yourself. How much do you think there is more to go until you really sort of dial in on that A game?
Yeah, I think it's more of a consistency thing at the minute. Like some games I'll average high 80s, and then I'll have another that's low 70s or even high 60s, and that's a major factor at the minute. It's just my consistency. I know I've got the game there, but it's just obviously doing it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. You obviously had the final against Beau over the weekend, which was a fantastic game in itself, and the results over the weekend lift you into that top 5 of the women's match play race. How much of a goal is it to be at that event?
Yeah, that was always my goal. I nearly achieved it last year. I think I was only like £150 off it in the end, which I think surprised everyone. But that was definitely the aim going into this year, and I feel like I'm maybe nearly there.
You say surprised everyone. Like, I'm sure some of the women on the tour knew you from many years ago. There may have been some that didn't. But do you think there was a surprise amongst the players that were competing in the top sort of 16, I guess, of the Order of Merit, that when you did come back, you were immediately sort of thrust into that top 16?
I haven't really asked them actually. I might have to ask them, but I just remember after the first event I played, I went into the toilet, and like me and Dita were just kind of crossing paths, and she was like, "You're playing well," and I said, "I know, tell me about it." But it wasn't really. No, I might ask them actually next time I see them.
Blackpool is obviously a really big marker and a big tournament in the women's game at the moment. We've obviously got the WDF World Championship as well, which of course Beau has won the last 3 years of that. How do you compare the two events? What do you think is the sort of the flagship tournament in women's darts these days?
That's a good question. I think I don't know how to compare them. I think obviously the women's match is the newer one. The WDF is very iconic, and obviously being a world champion, that is the only way for a woman is to do the WDF. But I think the match play definitely gets you more exposure, and I'm not sure if that's that might be good in some ways, but in others, yeah, I'm not sure. It's a tough question.
Do you think you say at the moment WDF is obviously the only way to become a world champion? Do you think that will change over the next few years, and maybe we could see a PDC Women's World Championship? We've seen it once before, many years ago, obviously, but sort of a new iteration of that, I guess.
I'd like to think so. I don't think it will be anytime soon, unfortunately, but you never know. I think now would probably be the perfect time to do it if they were, because the ladies is continually getting better, and you've got like there's players from Portugal, Brazil, Finland. Like you've got players from all over the place now.
Yeah, I noticed there were some new names over the weekend that I hadn't seen before. As you say, obviously Kirsi from Finland's playing great darts. I forget the name. I think you beat her in the semi-finals.
Araujo, yeah. I think I don't know how to pronounce. I don't want to butcher her first name. Araujo is her last name. Yeah.
Some player as well. I mean, she was playing some really good darts throughout the weekend.
I played her. I think it was her first event, and she. I think I was 3-1 up, and she beat me 4-3. So I was very nervous going into that semi when I knew how to play her.
We mentioned them Lakeside and the WDF. Is that something you want to put any effort into making a sort of making an effort to get to that tournament, or is it something that isn't really something you're bothered about?
I'd love to play at Lakeside. I'd love to play in that environment and be in that environment. And obviously everybody wants to be a world champion. It's just trying to fit it all in now, especially with like regular modus appearances. Obviously WODC Women's Series. There's only so much annual leave I get from work.
That's the problem, I think, with a lot of the not just the ladies, but the amateur players at the moment, just having that time. We talked a little bit about Beau Greaves. When we spoke to her after winning the PDC Women's World Match Play last year, she talked about maybe the women can't compete with the top male players. She seems to have changed her tune a little bit recently. When she spoke at the Grand Slam, she talked about taking those opportunities more. That's something that she's done at the start of the year on the Challenge Tour, and obviously on those couple of top-up events on the Pro Tour as well. What's your view on sort of mixed darts, I guess, because you've played mixed darts on the Modus as well?
Yeah, so I'm probably the same thinking as Beau. I think it's very hard for a woman to compete regularly with a man. I mean, you saw it with inconsistencies over the weekend. Beau had that 76 average with Fallon in the final, and then an 89 average and beat me. So I think consistency is there for everyone. Beau is probably the most consistent woman. But then on the flip side, if I get an opportunity to play against the men, then I will take that opportunity.
Do you notice that when you play against the men, does it feel like a different sort of game for you at all? Is there any extra pressure on trying to beat them, or maybe even less?
I think it's less pressure. You kind of get the pressure of you want to prove that women are good at darts and women can play darts. But then I also feel like the pressure is on the men to beat the women, if you know what I mean. But I also think like if I play in the women's series, sometimes I do get those chances where I can afford to miss doubles, and you can't get that against the men.
Yeah. How much do you think Beau is doing for that sort of line of thinking, competing against the men? The result against Josh Rock was unbelievable performance, and she did similar the previous day against Owen Bates, but didn't come away with the win. Do you think she's doing a lot for the image and the sort of thinking, I guess, behind women's darts?
Yeah, I think her and Fallon and Lisa have done that for years. I think it's maybe a shame that it's taken so long for more people to take notice. But yeah, they've done the same for years. It's huge for the ladies' game.
We talked a bit about the possibility of a PDC Women's World Championship, but what do you think are the next steps to make sure the women are developing their games and make sure we do have more women on things like the PDC Pro Tour and playing at that top level?
I think it needs to be seen more. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my Twitter, but obviously the women's series was at the weekend, and then they had the Pro Tours, and the Pro Tour highlights were on the PDC YouTube channel, and there was no highlights of the women's series, no mention of the women's series, etc. So I think it needs to be seen more. You've got like the top women hitting like huge averages, and nobody's seeing it because if you've not seen it on PDC TV, that's it. It's gone. It's not posted anywhere else.
Yeah, I do tend to agree with you there. Just give us a little bit of a lowdown of what the next few months are going to look like for yourself. I'm sure you've got a really busy few months coming up as we do head towards Blackpool, and hopefully you'll be there at the Winter Gardens.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So I've got Modus next week, a Group B appearance. I think the women's series is a week after again, or maybe 2 weeks time. I'm not sure. And then I think I've got a WADC tournament, and then women's series again. So that's my main focus at the minute.
Never stops, does it?
No, one after the other sometimes.
Really appreciate time today, Gemma, and best of luck with all those tournaments coming up.
Thank you very much. Cheers.